What happens when a Filipino speaker takes center stage at the United Nations and delivers a speech that stuns the world? This is the story of a global event that captured international attention and made history at the UN. In 2025, the world faced unprecedented global challenges: climate change disasters, widening economic inequality, and a growing divide between powerful nations and vulnerable communities. Headlines everywhere asked, "Who will lead us through this world crisis?" Inside United Nations conference rooms from Geneva to New York, debates about global equity, climate action, and international representation intensified. The UN, a symbol of global cooperation, now faced tough questions. Whose voices truly matter in shaping our world's future? Enter the Philippines, a resilient nation often overlooked in global discussions. Filipino communities, shaped by typhoons and economic struggles, had long inspired the world with their strength, but rarely claimed the international spotlight at major world events. Behind the scenes, Filipino diplomats quietly influenced United Nations policies and peacekeeping missions. Yet, few had ever stood at the iconic UN podium to speak for their people, and even fewer had the chance to deliver a message with global impact. When breaking news announced that a Filipino speaker would address the UN General Assembly, excitement surged, not just among diplomats, but across the entire Philippine archipelago. From the heart of Manila to the most remote islands, Filipino families gathered around radios and televisions, united by hope and anticipation. Could this be the moment their stories reached the world's most powerful leaders at the United Nations? Social media exploded with trending hashtags: Yun Filipino Speaker, Y Global Impact, Y Philippines at the UN. Across the internet, people asked, who will represent us? What message will echo through the halls of the United Nations and influence world events? The stage was set for a historic United Nations speech, a moment that could redefine global representation, elevate Filipino voices, and surprise the world. As the world held its breath, the Philippines prepared to share its voice, its struggles, and its dreams with history itself. Stay tuned to witness how a Filipino speaker at the United Nations delivered a global impact and changed the course of world events. The United Nations General Assembly Hall buzzed with anticipation on November 26, 2025. The atmosphere was charged with global intrigue, as whispers of a potential UN surprise circulated among the delegates. The hum of international diplomacy filled the air, signaling that something significant was about to unfold. World leaders and diplomats from every continent gathered, expecting another day of routine speeches and diplomatic formalities. No one anticipated the global intrigue that was about to grip the chamber. The next speaker was not a president or a prime minister, but Elena Reyes, a Filipino advocate whose name was unknown to most. Her presence at the UN was the first hint of the UN's big surprise. A ripple of curiosity swept through the assembly. Delegates exchanged puzzled glances, quietly speculating about this unexpected turn in international diplomacy. Who was this Filipino advocate? Why was she chosen to address the world's most powerful audience at such a pivotal moment? The United Nations rarely offers its stage to grassroots organizers, especially those from developing nations. Elena's appearance was a break from tradition, a true UN surprise that hinted at a shift in global priorities. Elena's walk to the podium signaled a new era in international diplomacy, one where unheard voices could spark global intrigue and inspire change. Delegates settled in, expecting a brief, polite address, a token gesture to inclusivity, not realizing the magnitude of the moment. No one realized they were about to witness a historic UN surprise, a moment that would echo far beyond these walls and redefine the role of a Filipino advocate on the world stage. For Elena, standing at that podium was more than a personal achievement. It was a responsibility to her people, a chance to bring the stories and struggles of ordinary Filipinos to the heart of international diplomacy. She represented not a government, but the hopes, dreams, and daily realities of millions of Filipinos, farmers, teachers, mothers, and children, whose voices rarely reach the global stage. Her presence challenged the established order, signaling that the UN was ready for new voices and new stories, an unexpected twist in international diplomacy. As the Secretary General finished his introduction, a hush fell over the assembly. The world sensed that a major UN surprise was about to unfold. Elena, modest and composed, adjusted the microphone with steady hands. Her heart pounded, but her resolve was unshaken as she prepared to make history as a Filipino advocate. She took a deep breath, her gaze unwavering, drawing strength from the memories of her community back home in the Philippines. The world's most powerful individuals leaned forward, their skepticism giving way to curiosity as they sensed the gravity of this global intrigue. They were about to hear a story not of politics, but of the human spirit, of resilience, hope, and the courage to demand change on the international stage. This was a moment that would change how the world saw the Philippines, not just as a nation, but as a source of inspiration and strength in international diplomacy. Elena was ready to speak, not just for herself, but for every unheard voice, every silenced dream, every Filipino who had ever felt invisible in the world of global intrigue. The world was watching, even if they didn't know it yet. In living rooms, offices, and classrooms across continents, eyes would soon turn to this Filipino advocate and the UN's big surprise. And in that silence, as the world held its breath, history waited to be made, one whisper before the storm of international diplomacy. In global diplomacy, the rarity of a Filipino advocate taking center stage at the United Nations is undeniable. Elena's invitation to speak at the UN was a breakthrough in global representation, a symbol for every unheard voice in the global South. The Philippines is often discussed at the United Nations, but rarely do Filipinos themselves define their own narrative on such a global platform. Elena's selection marked a quiet revolution, the result of a new UN initiative to amplify grassroots leaders and increase Filipino advocate representation. Her pioneering work in disaster-resilient communities in the Philippines caught the attention of a forward-thinking United Nations committee. For Filipinos worldwide, the news was electrifying, a moment of national pride and global recognition. Social media erupted with Nashnam Pinoy Pride Aton, as viewing parties and celebrations spanned continents, highlighting the global impact of Filipino representation at the United Nations. This was more than a speech. It was a rare opportunity for a Filipino advocate to be seen and heard on the world stage. Elena wasn't just representing her country. She was embodying a new, inclusive approach to global dialogue and representation at the United Nations. The world was finally listening to a Filipino advocate at the United Nations. Who is Elena Reyes, the Filipino speaker, who brought a UN surprise and gained global recognition? She's not a politician or celebrity, but the daughter of a fisherman and a teacher from Samar, an ordinary Filipino with an extraordinary story. Elena Reyes's journey mirrors millions of Filipinos. Resilience, hard work, and hope define her life. When a super typhoon devastated her hometown, Elena didn't wait for outside help. She organized her community and led the rebuilding, becoming a symbol of bayanihan and Filipino unity. Through real-life experience, not theory, Elena Reyes became an expert, leading with compassion, trust, and action. Her leadership was quiet, yet transformative, inspiring those around her. The United Nations recognized Elena Reyes as a leader who measures success by lives changed, not headlines, earning her global recognition. On that day, Elena Reyes stood at the UN podium, the Filipino speaker who embodied bayanihan and delivered the UN's big surprise. Wearing a simple piña dress, she honored her Filipino roots. Elena Reyes was unapologetically herself, a Filipino, a community worker, a storyteller, and now a globally recognized speaker. She was about to show the world that these identities were more than enough for global recognition. Elena Reyes, the Filipino speaker, was ready to command the world's attention with her UN surprise. As Elena spoke at the United Nations, the room transformed. The usual air of formality shifted, replaced by a sense of anticipation and genuine curiosity for this powerful voice for the people. Her English was clear, her accent proudly Filipino, a shining example of Filipino excellence. Her voice resonated with authenticity, echoing the hopes and dreams of her people on the international stage. She began not with jargon, but with a simple greeting. Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. In that moment, she bridged continents, inviting everyone into her world and championing international advocacy. Elena spoke of fishermen, farmers, mothers, and children, not as victims, but as heroes. She painted vivid pictures of their daily struggles and triumphs, making their stories impossible to ignore in the context of global advocacy. Her storytelling made global issues personal and real. She connected statistics to faces, policies to lives, and challenges to hope, embodying the spirit of Filipino excellence and international advocacy. She challenged world leaders gently but firmly. Your pledges are appreciated, but on our shores, they are still just words. We wait for action, not just promises. Her voice for the people demanded accountability at the United Nations. We need partnership, not pity. Her words called for respect, for collaboration, and for dignity, core values in international advocacy. She called for equality, not charity. Her message was clear. True progress comes when everyone stands on equal ground, a testament to Filipino excellence and the power of a voice for the people. Her honesty and authenticity cut through diplomatic fatigue. Even the most seasoned delegates at the United Nations found themselves leaning in, captivated by her international advocacy. Elena wasn't performing, she was sharing lived experience. Every word carried the weight of truth, every pause filled with meaning, amplifying her voice for the people. Her message disarmed the powerful and inspired the hopeful. She gave voice to those often unheard, and hope to those who needed it most, showcasing Filipino excellence on the world stage. She reminded everyone of their shared humanity. In that hall, borders faded and empathy grew, a true moment of international advocacy at the United Nations. True power, she proved, comes from truth, not authority. Her courage was contagious, her conviction unshakable, a beacon of Filipino excellence and a voice for the people. The delegates were no longer just listening, they were feeling. Elena's words lingered in the air, stirring hearts and minds and advancing international advocacy. Elena's voice was a quiet revolution. It was a spark that ignited hope, a call for change that could not be ignored, a true voice for the people and a symbol of Filipino excellence. And the world was listening. Her message echoed far beyond those walls, inspiring people everywhere to believe in the power of one voice, Filipino excellence, and the impact of international advocacy at the United Nations. At the heart of Elena's speech on the global stage was a story that captured everyone's attention. Sitio Marikit, a humble Filipino community and fishing village that was completely erased by a violent storm. The waves had swallowed homes, boats, and memories, leaving behind only fragments of what once was. She described the terror that swept through the village, the overwhelming sense of loss, and the deep darkness that followed. Families huddled together, unsure of what tomorrow would bring, mourning not just their homes but the very fabric of their lives. But then, the story shifted to hope and village resilience. The Filipino community, refusing to give in to despair, began to rebuild. Led by their wise elders and fueled by the spirit of bayanihan, community cooperation, they found strength in each other. Lolo Kiko, the oldest in the village, taught carpentry to the young men, passing down skills and wisdom. Nanay Celia, a pillar of the Filipino community, organized a communal kitchen, ensuring that no one went hungry. Women gathered to cook together, sharing stories and comfort as they prepared meals in makeshift shelters. Meanwhile, the children took on a special task, planting mangrove seedlings along the battered shoreline. Each seedling was given a name, representing the dreams and hopes of the child who planted it, a promise to the future and a symbol of village resilience. Over time, the mangroves flourished, becoming a living, growing symbol of the Filipino community's determination to recover and thrive. With little outside help, the people of Sitio Marikit relied on their own hands and hearts. Through unity and hard work, the community saved itself brick by brick, day by day, demonstrating true village resilience. Elena's story at the UN was a powerful lesson. Solutions to the world's biggest problems aren't always found in conference halls or government offices, but in the hands of ordinary people working together for a common good. This was the real UN impact, inspiring action through the example of a resilient Filipino community. Sitio Marikit's journey was a microcosm of the Filipino experience: devastation, resilience, and ultimately, rebirth. It was a testament to the unbreakable spirit of a people who refused to be defeated, and a shining example of village resilience on the global stage. The delegates in the room were visibly moved, not by cold statistics or charts, but by the raw power of the human spirit and the courage to rebuild from nothing. A true UN impact moment. Elena's words made the climate crisis deeply personal, transforming abstract numbers into real lives and real stories of Filipino community resilience. She showed the world that hope can grow from the deepest tragedy, and that even in the darkest times, new beginnings are possible for any village or community. The world began to see the Philippines not just as a victim of disaster, but as a shining source of inspiration and hope for all, proof of the global impact of village resilience. Her story resonated far beyond the issue of climate change. It spoke to the universal truth that, together, communities can overcome even the greatest challenges, on the global stage and at home. In the end, it was a celebration of the strength of community, a reminder that unity, compassion, and hope can help us rise from any wave, and that the Filipino community's resilience can inspire the world. As the Filipino speaker Elena finished her address at the United Nations, a profound silence filled the hall. A world-shaking moment was unfolding. Then, a single diplomat stood and applauded. Soon, the entire United Nations Assembly followed, drawing global attention. The standing ovation was thunderous and emotional, echoing across the world. Seasoned diplomats wiped away tears, moved by the Filipino speaker's courage. They weren't just applauding a speech, they were honoring truth and bravery on the global stage. For a moment, divisions dissolved. The United Nations stood united, simply human. Elena, the Filipino speaker, moved by the world-shaking moment, placed a hand over her heart, a gesture of gratitude. Cameras captured her humble smile, a symbol of Filipino pride and global inspiration. World leaders lined up to congratulate her, eager to connect after this world-shaking moment. The rigid atmosphere of the United Nations was replaced by genuine connection and global attention. Elena's speech became the focus of global attention, sparking conversations everywhere. The Filipino speaker had touched the world's heart with a truly world-shaking moment at the United Nations. Even before the applause faded, Elena's powerful UN speech was making headlines, spreading Filipino pride across the globe. The hashtag, My Elena Reyes Unspeech, trended worldwide within an hour, marking a moment of true global recognition. Millions shared her inspiring story, calling it a shining example of Filipino leadership on the international stage. Major news outlets around the world shifted focus to the Filipino advocate, whose UN speech stunned the international community. Elena became an overnight sensation, symbolizing Filipino pride and global recognition. For Filipinos everywhere, it was a moment of collective pride and international celebration. Overseas Filipino workers felt seen and validated, as Elena's UN speech brought their stories to the world stage. Elena's confidence inspired a renewed sense of national identity and Filipino pride among the youth. Social media overflowed with international celebration and messages of support. Her UN speech did more for the Philippines' global image than any campaign ever could. The world was finally witnessing the best of the Filipino spirit, as Filipino pride and global recognition reached new heights. Elena's speech at the United Nations was more than a moment. It was a catalyst for the future of global conversations. It proved that authenticity in international dialogue can be more powerful than authority. Her story sparked a movement for greater inclusivity and Filipino leadership in global forums. Why not invite more grassroots leaders and community voices to shape the future of international dialogue? Elena showed that those most affected by global problems, like the Filipino community, often hold the best solutions. Diplomats at the United Nations began to question their echo chambers. The call for more voices from the global south in international dialogue grew louder. The Philippines saw a new opportunity to showcase Filipino leadership and its people's talent on the world stage. Elena's example encouraged a new generation to step forward in shaping the future of global conversations. Her speech became a blueprint for change, through empathy, courage, and storytelling in international dialogue. The future of diplomacy and global conversations may look less like a battlefield and more like a global campfire. Stories, not just policies, will shape the world's international dialogue. Elena's legacy in the future of global conversations and Filipino leadership had just begun. Elena Reyes' story is a shining example of celebrating Filipino excellence and UN achievements. Her journey highlights the global recognition of Filipino talent, courage, and heart. Elena's moment at the United Nations was not just a personal victory. It was a powerful display of the international impact of Filipino excellence. We must continue to seek out and amplify the voices of everyday Filipino heroes, making a difference on the world stage. Their inspiring stories are our national treasure and contribute to our global recognition. Let's empower our best storytellers and leaders to represent the Philippines internationally. and achieve even greater UN achievements. Our strength lies in our spirit and unity, which drives our international impact. Elena opened a door for the Philippines at the United Nations, paving the way for future global recognition. Now, it's up to us to walk through it with pride and continue making an international impact. Let her standing ovation at the UN echo in our hearts as a symbol of Filipino excellence. The world is listening. Let's share our story of Filipino excellence, UN achievements, and international impact. Mabuhay ang Pilipinas. Pause 2s. In the days following Elena Reyes's historic United Nations speech, global ripples began to spread. News outlets worldwide replayed her powerful words, and social media buzzed with support for Filipino influence on the global stage. World leaders sent messages of admiration and solidarity, recognizing the worldwide impact of her message. The Philippines found itself at the center of global conversations, not just as a nation in need, but as a source of inspiration and leadership. International organizations took notice of the Filipino influence at the United Nations. New partnerships began to form, with countries reaching out to collaborate on disaster resilience, education, and cultural exchange, further amplifying the Philippines' worldwide impact. For the first time, Filipino perspectives were actively sought in policy discussions and global forums. Back home, Elena's courage sparked a new wave of civic engagement. Young Filipinos saw that their voices mattered. Community groups organized dialogues, and universities hosted forums on global citizenship and Filipino influence. The sense of possibility grew. One voice could ignite global ripples of change. Elena's stand at the United Nations became more than a moment. It became a movement. It forged new bridges and reminded the world that every nation, no matter its size, can have a worldwide impact. The Philippines' story had shifted. Now, it was a story of hope, resilience, and a newfound role in shaping international relations through Filipino influence. This is the legacy of speaking up at the United Nations, a world forever changed by the courage of one and the unity of many, creating global ripples that continue to inspire. The worldwide impact of Elena Reyes's voice reminds us, together, we can shape the future. As the echoes of Elena Reyes's words continue to resonate, her legacy that unites stands as a testament to the power of a Filipino speaker to deliver a true UN surprise on the world stage. From Carlos P. Romulo, whose voice helped shape the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, to the countless Filipino advocates who followed, the Philippines has long championed global unity, peace, and justice at the United Nations. Their legacy that unites is not just found in memorable speeches, but in the doors they've opened and the minds they've changed across the globe. Each Filipino speaker, each story, has built a bridge, connecting nations, inspiring action, and fueling the movement for global unity. Today, as we look to the future, the call is clear. Let us not be silent, but instead, let our voices contribute to a legacy that unites. Whether in our own communities or on the world's grandest platforms, every Filipino speaker proves that our voices matter in the pursuit of global unity. We are all part of a global family, bound by the hope for a better tomorrow and the dream of a world united. Let Elena's courage and the legacy that unites of Filipino advocates be our inspiration to create our own UN surprise. Let us listen, speak up, and stand together for global unity. Because when we unite, our ripples become waves, shaping a world where every voice is heard, every nation belongs, and the legacy that unites continues with you.